Daniel, why did you start writing? I'll get to that, dear friend, but here's the main idea. Great writing is great thinking. It's 4:08 p.m. on a Thursday as I do this final edit, and great thinking leads to great writing, which makes me question three things. When I'm confused, should I simply write? When I feel confident, should I write? When I'm curious, should I write? In confusion, writing brings clarity. In confidence, writing brings humility. In curiosity, writing brings excitement. Good writing is magnetic. Why should you write? Because stories and music are the only ways that people remember things. And I can share the stories that aren't finished, the stories where I failed or I haven't succeeded yet. Speaking of stories, there's this amazing story that I heard last week. Writing is actually liberating. My brother is not a prisoner. He may leave when he so wills. During the 14th century, Reynold III was duke in what is now Belgium. As the result of a violent quarrel, Reynold's younger brother Edward successfully revolted against him. And when Edward captured Reynold, he built a room around him featuring windows and a door, and promised him that the day he left, his title and property would all be returned to him. The problem with this arrangement was that Reynold was grossly overweight and could not fit through the openings in the room. And Reynold needed to lose weight before he could leave the room. Edward knew that his older brother could not control his appetite and sent him delicious food every day. As you imagine, Reynold grew fatter during this time. And anytime someone accused Duke Edward of treating Reynold cruelly, he said, "My brother is not a prisoner. He may leave when he so wills." Reynold stayed in that room for 10 years and wasn't released until Edward died in battle. And by then, his health was so ruined that he died within a year. He was a prisoner of his own appetite. And just as Reynold was enslaved by his appetite, consumption without production will enslave you. You and I, dear friend, we are Reynold. What are we consuming? Social media, YouTube, movies, they are all doing something to us, shaping our minds, shaping our views of reality. And if you choose different inputs, healthier inputs, what you produce will change too. And as you begin to write, you will notice how the people you follow are actually living rent-free in your brain. And learning without writing or action is like eating without exercise. And no matter how great your diet is, you need resistance to grow. It's actually 4:18 now. Speaking of growth, I'm heading to a yoga class. So here's the problem. Here's why I never wrote. I didn't want to have people disagree with me. I wanted everyone's approval. As soon as I choose to stand for anything and put my belief on the page or in this video, I create allies and enemies. And for most of my life, that stopped me. But now it fuels me. There's this concept I've learned from Sam Parr, and it's important to define who I'm for, but it's equally important to identify what I'm against and what I don't want. This is going to seem harsh. If you want to be comfortable, not my people. If you don't want to learn and grow, not my people. If you don't want to become better in all areas of your life, in your faith, in your foundation, in your finances, in your relationships, and in your health, you're not my people. I have this insatiable desire to learn and grow, and my writing is intentionally exclusionary. It's the opposite of trying to please everyone. So my writing origin story. Daniel, why did you start writing? Let me tell you the story. I was in Ecuador in this hobbit hole I'd rented for a few days. I was 24 and I was staring at this snow-capped volcano. There were these green rolling hills and there were these llamas that we fed bananas to earlier that day standing on these hills, and silence. Silence that felt like a heavy blanket. And I started thinking, I was about to turn 25. what did I want to do over the next 10 years? There were a lot of things, but one that stood out was writing. I wanted to write a book by the time I was 35, and I came back to the US, and for the next 2 years, I forgot about my dream. And isn't that so easy to do? But then something happened, something so simple, it wouldn't even seem like it would matter. A friend of mine, Evelyn, posted a graphic of Dan Coe on her story, and it was a beautiful mind. And I'm sure you're thinking, Daniel, who cares? People share stuff like that all the time. Yeah, I get it. It seems small, but it wasn't. Because of that graphic, and because she shared, I started following Dan's Instagram. From there, I found his YouTube. In December of 2023, he launched something called 2 Hour Writer. Now, have you ever had a dream that just keeps nudging you? An instinct that you need to do something, but hesitate? That was me. Waiting. Then, December 31st, I made a decision. This year, I'll become a writer. In fact, I can see the vision board where I wrote down me wanting to write. And I made this decision between 11:30 and 2 a.m. Somehow it seems like I make good decisions around things that I want in my life during that time when I can't sleep. And I decided to become good at writing, not because I'm good at it, but because it's a learnable skill. It's also a multiplying skill. If I become effective at writing, it positively affects every other skill I have already developed and every skill I will develop. So I bought 2 Hour Writer, and I read through all the material once, and in the first 2 weeks of January, I read through it once in the first 2 weeks of January, and then I went through it again and started applying the ideas. What I found was writing is as much about capturing moments of inspiration and ideas as it is putting in the work. Because capturing ideas as soon as they hit is a gold mine that most people, and I until earlier this year, don't capture. I wrote my first newsletter and I was so nervous to publish it. And you can read it here, it'll be linked in the description. And I could feel my heart racing, my palms were sweating, and I hit publish now. And it was okay. I'd done it. Success. And then I went, oh no. Now I need to publish another one? Can I keep doing this? I had one that took me 3 weeks. It was on how to win friends and influence people. And I spent all this time on the body of this newsletter and not on the title. That was a mistake. So it didn't end up being that much better, despite being 2 to 3 times more effort into the body of the newsletter. And that was pretty frustrating. It hasn't been perfect. But as I missed those 2 weeks, imperfection actually almost killed this dream. As you read these newsletters, there's this part of me that always wanted to do this, to write, to speak, to share my thoughts. But the truth is I was always afraid. Afraid because I knew I'd make mistakes. I knew my grammar would be wrong. I knew that there'd be so much imperfection. The only focus wouldn't be on the effort. It would be on the imperfection. Crushing weight. And with imperfection, there's this sadness. An unwillingness to try, because if I never try, at least I have an excuse that I didn't put in full effort. Yet the harshest judge is always internal. And when my faults are pointed out by others, it's simply a reminder of the finger I was already pointing at myself. That at some point in the future, I'd make a mistake, and even if I built something beautiful, it wouldn't matter, because I'd simply end up destroying it anyway. This assumed future failure was actually destroying my present. And I've got a full newsletter called The Dark Side of Creativity, How Perfection Murders Your Future. Again, you can read that whole thing in the description. But despite that, I've now written 27 or 28 newsletters depending on when this comes out, and maybe a whole lot more depending on when in the future you watch this. And I had the chance to be a guest on a podcast a few weeks ago talking about social skills. And because I write, my thinking has become clearer. I understand more of what I believe and why. Writing has helped me understand my own thought process and helped me see my worldview really for the first time. My retention of information has also gone up. My conversations with friends have changed. The call to action of a mini essay at the end of this is because of a conversation I had about this topic with a friend who sent me this video on how to write mini essays, and I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly something you can do. And if you use it, it may just change you too. So you're thinking, if I want to do this, where do I start? So here's the first step. Write something and share it with one person. So number one, choose a topic you care about and are already learning about. So go to your YouTube, watch history, your Netflix, like what are you already learning about, already curious about? And then step two is choose to be a curious beginner. You can either choose to share as a generous expert or a curious beginner. For most people, saying, hey, I'm going to do all this work and then I'm just going to share what I'm learning along the way, that's really valuable. So just be honest about the things you're not good at, and that's okay. Like for me, I'm not a great storyteller. I'm becoming better at it. And I'm sharing what I'm learning along the way. Number three is choose one memorable line you want people to remember. For this video, for this piece, it's great writing is just great thinking. And then step four is choose one emotion you want your reader to feel. For me, it's to be inspired. I want you to feel inspired to take action. Number five, choose one action you want them to take. For this video, it's to write a mini essay and share it with a friend. And number six, write a mini essay. And that's 1 page or less, one topic, and one source. So P.S., did I succeed? Did you write a mini essay? If you did, comment it down below so I can see it. Here were my intentions with this video, with this newsletter. I wanted you to remember that great writing is just great thinking. I wanted you to feel inspired, and the one action I want you to take, write a mini essay, share it with a friend. Or you can share it with me, you can DM it to me on Instagram or on X. I'd love to hear how you guys are actually doing that over there. So the only last thing is I do also have a course on social skills, so if you want to become better with people, that's linked down below as well. Adios.